Part 49. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 490. When Lu Feng entered the town, there was an endless stream of people greeting him along the way. He almost couldn't leave at the gathering place at the entrance of the village. Many people praised the good son-in-law of the Laozhang family. If he hadn't been here last year, he would have believed it. When they arrived at the door of the house, everyone came out to greet them, and everyone had a smile on their face. The atmosphere was very good, and all the stars entered the door. Nothing more than that set of polite things. The stove was on fire, a pot of Chinese medicine was boiling, and the room was filled with the smell of medicinal herbs. After being polite for a long time in the morning, the eldest sister-in-law and the second sister-in-law were busy. She didn't speak at all, and Lu Feng was in a trance for a moment. The two sisters-in-law's personalities seemed to have changed drastically. At noon, I ate and drank wine, but nothing happened. Now, the family members face Lu Feng with all kinds of warm greetings in addition to smiling faces. Are you full, thirsty, or sleepy? You get a pillow. It seems that the people around Lu Feng have very good personalities. Sometimes when Lu Feng says something unpleasant, these people can also skillfully help him become nice. Lying on the Kong in the afternoon, Lu Feng felt the sunlight outside, his whole body was warm, and he sighed inwardly, it's nice to have money. In the blink of an eye, it was the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. During this time, apart from classmate Hu, he called Lu Feng and wanted to invite him to a meal alone. The words were very sincere, but Lu Feng ignored it. In 8 or 9 days, GMA Foods created a miracle with the product Little Bit during the Spring Festival, which made other manufacturers accelerate the pace in the field of crisp noodles. GFeng Electronics also officially started construction. Zhang Fengxia and Zhu Lidong have returned to the company. Everything is a new cycle, year after year. It's just that no one knows, next year, how good or bad he has been this year, those who are still laughing, and whether the people around him have changed a lot this year. Life is moving forward, creating and working hard on this land. The stories of gains and losses are played out every year, every day, every minute, and every second. Those are the stories of others, perhaps only they know. For the 2 days before he left, Lu Feng stayed by Zhang Xiaoyan's side and accompanied her to the old doctor's place. The old doctor saw that Lu Feng was gentle and elegant, and Zhang Xiaoyan told him a lot of things from the past. The old Chinese doctor can only sigh, people can't look at their appearance. The treatment takes 2 months, Duoduo still has more than a month to start school, and Duoduo likes to have fun in the village, so he stayed with Zhang Xiaoyan. As the plane took off, Lu Feng watched the house below, the people getting smaller and smaller, and gradually withdrew his gaze. The most important thing for him now is to get Zhang Wanmen done. The plane landed, and the company's car was already waiting. Lu Feng got in the car and went straight to the factory. It was already afternoon when we arrived at the place, and the number of people in the factory area began to increase. Red silk cloth was hung on the door, and there were a lot of various brands next to it. Excellent private enterprises, demonstration enterprises, all in a mess. Happy Chinese New Year, Mr. Lu, the security guard at the door shouted. Happy New Year. Lu Feng said politely, raised the window, and the car drove into the factory area. Since the last time a group of small and medium-sized enterprises blocked the door to recruit people, the security guards in the factory area have all been changed. When they went upstairs, the office had been cleaned, and there were several reports on the table. Lu Feng leaned back on the chair and prepared to take a break. Zhang Fengxia quietly opened the door and walked in. Happy New Year, Miss Xiaoyan didn't come. She was very beautifully dressed, her high heels made her look taller, she had a head similar to instant noodles permed, with normal hair tied up on her head, and was wearing a grey woolen coat with a red wide-pin sweater underneath. Why don't you wear work clothes? Lu Feng looked at her and wondered. I just came here yesterday. The new clothes I bought were not foreign enough, so I was asked to wear professional clothes. Zhang Fengxia stood in front of the desk and turned around and asked, "Does it look good?" "That's it," Lu Feng lowered his head. "You can't praise me twice. I think I look good, and my grandfather said I look good." "Your grandfather said it looks good, then it looks good." Lu Feng gave a thumbs up. "You," Zhang Fengxia also lost her temper. She sat down and said, "Have you ever seen a beautiful woman? Her aesthetics are so high. Sister Xiao Yan is beautiful, you don't bother to watch it every day, you still miss that Su Yorong, that's not pretty, she's sassy." Lu Feng looked at her and smiled bitterly, but she still didn't know that in the eyes of men, saucy equals good looking. "You look good, okay, how about you set up a VCD business group?" Lu Feng asked. "I found a few capable people, and it's all done." "You can praise me again." Zhang Fengxia smiled and glanced at Lu Feng. "Oh, whose girl is this? She is so beautiful, I'm embarrassed to look at it." "She's embarrassed, she looks like a fairy, whose boy has such a blessing, marrying you is really a sin in a previous life," Lu Feng said and couldn't help laughing. "You. It's ridiculous to brag about it." Zhang Fengxia sat up straight and said seriously, "I think this VCD is a bit unstable, and now the company's funds are tight. If you spend tens of millions to get this, I'm afraid it will make things worse. The technology is very good, and it is a product that will subvert videotapes. I am very optimistic. If the company wants to put technology first, catch up with foreign technology, and break through the patent defense line, it needs long-term R/U0026D investment. Therefore, our products will be more and more. We need products that make money," Lu Feng said with a serious face. "It's so easy to earn money. With such a large investment in research and development, I'm worried about you. If I were in your position, I would definitely not do this. It would be great to make money with peace of mind. With your ability, making money is very simple." Zhang Fengxia: "I still don't understand what Lu Feng did. I do this to make money with more peace of mind in the future, to make company layout, to have a long-term strategic vision, to stare at the petty profits in front of me. It is destined to not go long, the new year is about to start, you organize the people of the company, let's get it." "Is Lu Cheng going to work?" Lu Feng asked. "I'm not sure. I'll call and ask in a while. The 100 million fund for the R/U0026D company will be debited in the next few days. Please sign it first." Zhang Fengxia took a copy from a pile of folders on the table and put it in front of Lu Feng. Lu Feng opened it and took a look, confirming that there was no problem with signing his name. "Is there anything urgent?" Lu Feng asked as he put the cap on the pen. "Gone. I'm a little tired. Lie down for a while." Lu Feng stood up and walked towards the bedroom next to him. "Go and do your own thing." As soon as I entered the door, I was stunned. The room was a little messy, the quilt was not folded, and there were several pairs of high-heeled shoes next to the bed. The wardrobe door was open, and I saw women's clothes hanging inside. "Who lives here?" Lu Feng called. "I'm staying here." Zhang Fengxia walked in and said, "My room is uncomfortable and you're not here, so I just stayed for a while, but I'm busy and I don't have time to clean up." "You lie down." Lu Feng could see that she really didn't treat herself as an outsider. "I told Sister Xiao Yan," she said. "Stay." Zhang Fengxia leaned against the door and said, "She agreed. She will sleep if she agrees with you." "If she says she agrees with me to be with you, you're welcome," Lu Feng asked her. Hey, Zhang Fengxia grinned and said, "How can there be such a good thing? She can't agree." Lu Feng stared at her. Zhang Fengxia put away her smile and said, "I'll clean up, you lie down for a while." Lu Feng saw with his own eyes that she took out two close-fitting clothes from the quilt, placed them beside the pillow, shook the quilt, pulled the sheet, sat on the edge of the bed and patted, "Sleep." "What are you doing?" "Sitting here," Lu Feng asked helplessly. It's nothing, I just held a few meetings and laid out the things that need to be paid attention to in the beginning of the year. If I was busy, I would have changed my professional attire. Zhang Fengxia was talking, and she lay down on the bedside. Don't say, your bed is much more comfortable than mine. Lu Feng was speechless, and said, when studying abroad, did you forget about men and women? The smile on Zhang Fengxia's face slowly disappeared, and she said, what did I do to you? Did I hold your hand, or kiss you on the mouth? I just wanted to lie down with you and talk about something, and you would be right in front of me. In this way, in front of that Su Yorong, it's like a wave. What are you talking about? Where did I go wrong? Lu Feng asked rhetorically. You shake your body. Lu Feng shook his body and asked, what's wrong? Have you heard the ebb and flow in your heart? Are you still wavering? Lu Feng was also speechless. This girl seems to have improved in her mouth. Come here, lie down here, talk to you about something, talk about VCD. Zhang Fengxia patted the bed and said, and the new factory area. Lu Feng was indeed a little tired, his back was sore, he walked to the other side of the bed and lay down. Let's talk about the new factory first. How is it built? Lu Feng asked. The big framework has already been built. It is estimated that it will be completed by the end of February, and the machine has been set. On the way here, there is a problem, that is, the loan approval promise there is a little troublesome, and a working group will be sent to communicate in a few days. Zhang Fengxia said seriously. Now we have a lot of money in our hands, but there are too many places to use it, and there are big holes. I talked with the financial manager yesterday, and he said that the life of GFN Electronics was not easy, and he also managed a lot. The company's money can't be spent like this. What can I say? I can only say that we have a young and promising CEO. If you have any problems, just push it to me. As the company becomes larger and larger in the future, finance will inevitably face reorganization after groupization. Finance is not only about managing accounts, but also controlling risks. In the future, the position of financial manager should be promoted to vice president of the group, or president in charge, Lu Feng said thoughtfully. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 491. Zhang Fengxia lay there, talking about her worries about the VCD market, mainly the market acceptance. In the past, when new products appeared, there would be an adaptation period and the degree of universality. Some products are very difficult to promote. The launch of a new product means overthrowing the market of the old product, which is equivalent to fighting against the entire market. Taking automobiles as an example, the development of automobiles was very difficult in those days, because it touched the interests of cars and horses. Another example is electric lights. Electric lights are of course good, but the problem is that you have touched the interests of selling candles. The emergence of each new product is a reshuffle of the original market. Excellent new products will definitely be promoted, but the problem is time. GFN Electronics does not have that time now. What if the investment cycle is too long? It will really drag down GFN Electronics. Zhang Fengxia was talking about risks from all sides, but suddenly she felt that the person beside her stopped talking. She glanced sideways and found that Lu Feng was already asleep. Sighing lightly, Zhang Fengxia stretched out her hand and pulled the quilt over to cover him, half leaning on the head of the bed and muttering to herself. I'm an international student, I've learned so much, all kinds of classic business cases, what kind of international trade, and even the art of trading for 2 years, but I was beaten back to the original shape by your scumbag, and I doubted myself going. Is it a fake school? Sometimes, when I'm alone, I also think about the things you've done, although it's like punching the old master to death, but after thinking about it, there seems to be a bit of a way of life, and the things I've learned are different. Coincidentally, you said that you graduated from elementary school. I have always felt that something was wrong. You can write a lot of uncommon characters, and the characters are good looking, but your style of doing things is reckless, like a second rate. You are a contradictory person. Zhang Fengxia is not a fool. She is smarter than anyone else, but she just can't understand Lu Feng. This person's experience and what he has done are completely opposite. During the Chinese New Year, there was a lot of noise and constant communication, and Lu Feng was indeed a little tired. When he woke up, it was still dark outside, so he turned on the lights and found that it was 5 in the morning. I got up and processed some hand-signed documents on the table, including approval of financial funds, personnel changes, approval of funds from various departments, approval of new projects, and a lot of applications. These things are basically approved by Lu Feng on the phone, but the procedure that should be followed still has to go through. Lu Feng took a look at the sales of the 3 products, tape players, radios, and home theaters. The monthly sales were less than 1/5 of those of his friends, which can be described as bleak. Among them, the best-selling tape machine is cheap and cool, and it is very popular among young people. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I went to the cafeteria to eat. Today's senior management is in a hurry to eat. An hour later, Mr. Lu's New Year's speech conference will start. At 7:30, Liukin's car entered the factory area, and the largest conference room was sorted out. Because there were so many people, there were no tables, only rows of chairs. At about 7:40, Zhu Lidong, Zhang Fengxia, Lu Cheng and others were already chatting at the door of the conference room. The main content of the discussion was the VCD product. Mr. Lu thinks it's okay, then it's really okay, Zhu Lidong said, smoking a cigarette. I told you so much for nothing, Zhang Fengxia said helplessly. From all aspects, there are still risks. No, 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 Zhu Lidong shook his head and said, I used to think that Mr. Lu's suggestion was not as good as my own. In the past year, I have accepted it. Lu Cheng smiled and said, anyway, it's right to listen to President Lu, and they didn't miss it. Yes, in my heart, he is almost like a half-immortal, Zhu Lidong teased, and snuffed out the cigarette butt on the trash can. The 3 stepped into the conference room. Lu Feng changed into a suit, looked at the time, and walked towards the conference room. A clerk was leading the way and asked Lu Feng if he wanted to get a speech or something. No, the company's development is all in my heart, Lu Feng said solemnly. By the way, Mr. Zhang has prepared a red scarf for you, saying it's a good start, let you hang it. The clerk thought about it, and hurriedly took out a package from his pocket, opened it and took out a thin scarf. Okay, let's get lucky. Lu Feng took it and hung it around his neck as he walked into the conference room. As Lu Feng stepped in, Zhu Lidong, Zhang Fengxia, and Wei Yandan in the first row stood up and took the lead in applauding, and there was an instant applause in the conference room. The speech stage was covered with a red carpet, and there were 2 bouquets of flowers next to the microphone. Lu Feng walked to the speech stage and pressed his hand down. Everyone, please take a seat. When everyone was seated, their eyes turned to Lu Feng. The person sitting at the back was still holding a notebook and a pen. Whether it was voluntary or the leader explained it is unknown. First of all, the new year is over, and in the new year, we have to face new problems. Although the new year has just passed, my speech today will not be too polite. This year is the year of the rooster. For GFN Electronics, it's going to be very difficult. Every company has to go through it, and this is our 2nd year. What I want to say is that this is a good thing. The management team needs to be tempered. After experiencing wind and rain, the rainbow you see is more meaningful and has a sense of honor. If you experience hardships earlier, you can make the team mature faster. At the end of last year, the internal management methods and departments were reorganized, and the management system was expanded. This was done to deal with the things we will face this year. Everyone knows a word, called bloat. Once the company expands, there are many departments. Approval at various levels is slow, and in the face of changes in market risks, there is a situation where the ship is in trouble and turns around. Decentralize the powers of the heads of various departments, strengthen internal supervision, and continue to implement assessment standards. Any problem should be blamed on the person. It is forbidden to have a division between departments, a person in charge, and nepotism is not allowed. At present, our company's internal reward and punishment system and promotion system have been increasingly improved. This year, we must dare to promote from the bottom up, excavate and cultivate talents, especially our /U0026D companies, in peripheral our /U0026D laboratories, cooperation, external employment, and other means. I will, in a word, it doesn't matter if the cat is black or white, as long as it catches mice, it is a good cat. At the same time, there must be a spirit of caring for employees, enhance their sense of belonging, and form an atmosphere of taking the company as their home and the company's pride, and being proud of being a GFN people. Besides, this year's difficulties, funding issues, market issues, product issues, and the expansion of so many departments is just to support our /U0026D. We are short of money, but we are not short of money, and we will never be short of money in research and development. It's about making money. This year, several new projects will be launched, and we will cooperate with entertainment companies in Xinjiang to provide exclusive high-quality content, songs, movies, etc., and strengthen the content. Product upgrades are our pain points. It is necessary to cultivate methods in terms of content and make up for shortcomings. This is the way to survive. At the same time, we need to strengthen brand promotion. WePuta has covered more than 300 million people in 1 year, and has formed a stereotyped brand image. It is low-end and cheap. We should improve this aspect this year and upgrade our products for the next time. And prepare to raise the unit price of the product. This year's main content is entertainment, investing in variety shows, such as Gender Variety Show and Variety Show, and introducing stars, including but not limited to, undertaking the sale of concerts, variety shows, low-cost film and television investment, song release, what to do with money. Do a good job in product endorsements, cultivate your own local strength, and for some highly influential stars, under the combined effect of other conditions, sign endorsements at low prices, as a brand platform, to stretch the trend of declining TV sales. Another product this year is VCD, which will become the company's key project, a product that will subvert the industry, so I won't go into details. Let me sum up, this year is very difficult, be mentally prepared, and it will not be easy to predict next year. When GFN Electronics was established, I was thinking about turning it into an epoch-making company. Such a company is destined to it's hard to walk, and as long as we walk through the darkness, I'm sure the sun will be extra bright then. There was thunderous applause at the scene, and many people's eyes were firm, and many of them little smart ghosts rolled their eyes, and they were not sure what to think. Everyone wants to take a big boat and be more stable, but few people know what kind of behemoth this small boat will grow into after many years. Next, ask Mr. Lu from the R/U0026D company to tell you about the work goals for this year. Lu Feng walked off the stage. Lu Cheng stepped onto the stage, first thanked Lu Feng for his trust, and then said that he would do well this year. He talked about his specific ideas, and he had already contacted many organizations and made fun of it. Having money is good. It's better to talk to a big institution that doesn't care about it. The heads of various departments came to the stage to give speeches. Wei Yandan mainly talked about the development of the Talent Reserve Center. A total of more than 600 talents have been introduced. Own grand ambitions. But in less than a month, I walked halfway. After the probation period, there were not even 100 people, and then they were sent to various departments to take up their posts. At present, there are 7 people left, and all of these 7 people have entered the grassroots management level. 5 of them are in our /U0026D company. A few years ago, relying on the strength of the company, 9 graduate students were recruited, and they have already run halfway. Lu Feng was not surprised by this result. The more high-end talents, the less attractive the current private economy is. Fortunately, there have been many more universities in cooperation this year. In the next few years, these colleges and universities will cooperate more and more with companies like GFN Electronics due to the reduction in the number of allocated places. This is the general trend. A conference was held until noon. At present, the management of GFN Electronics is very healthy, especially the executives, who are particularly passionate and hopeful. Facing difficulties in such a state will make Lu Feng a lot easier. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 492. Major companies have basically resumed work and production. Of course, the food industry resumed work earlier. Some medium-sized food companies started work urgently on the first day of the new year. When Lu Feng messed up, these old people always started scolding. In the office building, Mr. Zheng finished the annual meeting. Several executives were called in the office. In August and September last year, major manufacturers aimed at the small home appliance market listed. With the end of the new year, small and medium-sized enterprises will also speed up their entry. This year, the small household appliance industry will be particularly intense. This is only 2 small household appliance companies, Desheng and Degan, and it is very challenging in the market. After reading the last 2 market data, Mr. Zheng leaned back in his chair and asked, "What do you think?" Changhong is still the main force. An executive looked at the data and said, "In the past month or so, sales have skyrocketed by 300%. Changhong's hardest part is its sales channels. Other sales channels are incomparable to ordinary companies. GFN Electronics invested so much money in channels. Last year's TV sales still didn't pass. I also think it's Changhong. Now they're really big brothers. I can't accept it," another executive said. "The same is true for me. The market focuses on defending Changhong, and the southern market blocks Konka. As for the second-tier brands such as Panda, I don't need to worry about it for the time being." Everyone nodded. Market share, sales, brand appeal, these 3 things are added together, the sword points to Changhong. Mr. Zheng lit a cigarette worriedly and asked, "Where is GFN Electronics?" "A company that is struggling, I have heard some news. Their goal this year is to survive, and the dealer's mood is very unstable. They may abandon GFN Electronics and run away at any time, which is not enough. I'm just curious, this Lu Feng also has the ability, he has obtained a fund of more than 200 million yuan, without these more than 200 million yuan, GFN Electronics estimates that it will not be able to make it through the years." Everyone was talking about the news about GFN Electronics, and the atmosphere was quite relaxed. Mr. Zheng had been in contact with Lu Feng, and he did not think that Lu Feng would quit the stage so easily. GFN Electronics is lagging behind in TV technology, and he lacks funds. This year's Lu Feng must have been desperate to make money. Such people are crazy and can't decide what to do. The only thing that can save him is the small home appliance market. Already. Mr. Zheng took a cigarette in worry. Changhong's mighty power can be seen by everyone, but the next generation pushes the previous wave. Don't forget the scenery of pandas in the 1980s, Changhong is a company sitting on the country, his offensive will not be so ruthless. GFN Electronics is already desperados, when they return to light, they may give you a fatal blow, Mr. Zheng analyzed. A group of senior executives nodded, it is not impossible to think so. Conventional defense in the market, if Changhong starts a price war, we can follow up. At the same time, we can strengthen publicity, especially in the professional aspect of small household appliances. For example, we only do small household appliances to highlight our products. Specialized. This year's publicity strategy is going in this direction. It is necessary to develop a refined strategy, and the timing of new products should be right. When dealing with companies like GFN Electronics, a different approach is required. Mr. Zheng seemed to have thought of something. Then what do you think? The master of the barbarians is to rule the barbarians. Lu Feng is a man with many eyes and a mouthful of nonsense. I have to become brothers with him. I can understand his details and understand the situation in time. The most important thing is that if GFN Electronics collapses, it is very suitable for the acquisition target, so that we can take advantage of the trend to enter the field of major appliances. Mr. Zheng showed his ambition. If GFN Electronics goes bankrupt and reorganizes, it is a very suitable company to start. Everyone was stunned and nodded. Mr. Zheng was indeed talented and thoughtful than ordinary people. Lu Feng sneezed while eating at noon. Zhang Fengxia, who was sitting next to him, handed over a piece of paper and said, "Do you have a cold?" "No, maybe it's spring, because of the weather. The weather has changed a lot these days, wear more clothes." Lu Feng didn't speak, thinking about Zhang Wanmen in his heart. Logically, he should have called himself, "Why is there no movement?" There are too many variables in this matter. Zhang Wanmen in the previous life accepted the investment there without hesitation, and then sold all the patent rights. It is enough to see that he values the investment there. At the end of the year, GFN Electronics had a lot of changes. If he asked a few friends, people around him would persuade him to accept the investment there. After eating in a hurry, Lu Feng returned to the office to call Zhang Wanmen, but was stopped by a clerk in the next office. "Mr. Lu, there are calls to you in the morning. They are all from Xiangjiang. The phone number is on your desk." "Okay, I see." Lu Feng pushed open the office door and walked in. He glanced at the phone number. If Lu Feng remembered correctly, it should belong to the Feng family. After a call was made, a nanny picked it up, and Feng Xiao answered the phone after a while and said, "What about Lu Feng? What's the matter? Greet me in the new year? What is the date? Do you wish me a happy old age?" Lu Feng said weakly. Feng Xiao was speechless and said, "Are you at work?" "I don't work. Do you support me? Why are you doing this? What emotions are you venting on me? Isn't it uncomfortable? Then don't come." Lu Feng said very casually. He really didn't want to let such a stunned young man come, and he was the axis of everything, thinking that this was not right and that was not good. Lu Feng would rather send a financial team to check accounts in the financial department of GFN Electronics every day. "Why don't I go? I'm going to take a good look at your company now. I've invested so much money in the past, and I know the flow of funds. If it's all in your private wallet, my family won't lose money. I've already set a boat for tomorrow. Tickets to Shenzhen." Lu Feng scratched his head helplessly. If he had the slightest way to refuse this master, he would not let him come. The key is to accept investment from others. Mr. Feng gave him this treasure, no trick. "Okay, pay attention to safety on the road." After Lu Feng finished speaking, he hung up the phone, found Zhang Wanmen's business card and called him. "Hey, who is it?" "I, Lu Feng from GFN Electronics, your brother." Lu Feng said with a smile. "Lu Feng, what's the matter?" Hearing this, Lu Feng felt a little stunned, and he had a bad premonition. During the Chinese New Year, it's not about the VCD. "I'm at work now. Where shall we talk? Am I going to find you, or are you going to find me?" Lu Feng asked. The other end of the phone was very good at raising money, and the other end was a bit over drinking. When he was excited, he agreed, but President Zhang also inquired with his friends in the electronic circle. I heard that Lu Feng wanted to invest, so they persuaded him to stay away from this person. It is good to accept the investment there, and the money is twice as much as GFN Electronics. He changed his attention again. Ah! This, oh, have you ever? The other end of the phone began to pretend to be deaf and mute, and said, I've been drinking a lot these days. Lu Feng sighed inwardly, as expected, and said, it's all right, let's continue talking. If there is something you can't figure out, tell your brother. Even if you choose that side, brother, I can help you. As long as you are good, then everything is fine. Mr. Zhang on the other end of the phone couldn't bear it anymore. He promised others, but he regretted it. Now that people can say such heartwarming words, he is very uncomfortable. I'll tell you the truth. I asked a few friends and I think you're not very reliable. President Zhang told the truth. Lu Feng sighed lightly and said, in this industry, I don't say I'm good. If you ask the CEOs of companies like Changhong and Konka, you'll scold me like hell. People who have special respect for scientific research talents have invested a lot of money in research and development this year, and I personally don't matter. As long as the industry is prosperous and the technology is in my own hands, it doesn't matter if I go bankrupt immediately. What a great person he is, who despised his self-interest so much and broke his heart for the R/U0026D of the industry. How can Mr. Zhang, as an engineer, not bear it? The hardships, only the developers understand. Mr. Lu, I always thought you were a good person. Really, you are a good person. Don't say that, I'm a bad person. I can understand you. If I were you, I would also choose to invest more funds. It's human nature. I can only say that I wish you more contributions to the national industry. When one day, when we were at the forefront of the world in technology research and development, I may have become a lonely middle-aged man in the corner of a certain city, basking in the sun, but I am proud of you. Mr. Zhang on the other end of the phone couldn't take it anymore, and he felt ashamed in his heart. Lu Feng said this and broke the defense. Mr. Lu, don't talk about it. I will cooperate with you, and I will bet on the things I developed myself. Even if I lose, I will not lose my heart. The problem is, now that it has been finalized, the team will come to sign the contract immediately. Lu Feng was shocked when he heard this. Fortunately, he made a phone call in advance. If he was slower, he was busy with other things, and it might be too late. You don't have to feel guilty. You think about me, and I have to think about you too. If you can't negotiate with that side, talk to me again. It's all right, it's all right. It's boring for us to say such foreign things. You're a researcher, I have no experience in corporate negotiation. How about I help you negotiate? Lu Feng said sincerely. Zhang always felt that he owed too much to others. Those people said that he was treacherous, but he didn't say a word. If he cooperated with Lu Feng, he would only eat it up. Now he felt that those people had prejudice against Lu Feng. This is a good and honest man. I also feel that my current team is not familiar with these, and I am worried. If you can help, that would be great. It's a small matter, I'm here, that's all. If there is any progress, you can inform me as soon as possible. Our family, don't talk about the two families, Lu Feng said politely. After the two were polite, Lu Feng hung up the phone. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 493. Sitting in the chair, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief. This matter is really not easy to handle. All Lu Feng can do now is to try his best to participate in the business negotiations between him and the United States. Mr. Zhang should have heard a lot of news about Lu Feng, and he was already on guard. If he told the other party at this time, don't believe the other party, you must believe me, it will only make the other party resentful. At this time, Lu Feng wants to show a pair I will do my best to help you make the best choice, and strive to promote the cooperation between the two sides. In fact, the interaction between people is very simple, and the object is the same. You must not let the other person feel disgusted with you. Once this emotion occurs, no matter what you say, it is invalid communication. Lu Feng sat there and thought about it for a while. He had to hurry up on this matter, so as not to have too many dreams at night. As for seeing Scene Media, Lu Feng planned to meet with President Du to discuss some basic things, and leave the rest to him. Wei Yandan went to contact him. While thinking about how to arrange the time, the phone rang, and Lu Feng picked it up and said, "Who is it?" "Mr. Lu, it's me, your brother," the other end of the phone said excitedly. "My brother?" Lu Feng frowned slightly, but it didn't sound like a loud voice. "I have more brothers, which one are you?" Lu Feng asked. "Mr. Lu, look at you. I haven't seen you for a long time, so I forgot my brother." "I am the chairman of Desheng and Dijin," Zheng reminded. Oh, Lu Feng said 3 times in a row, but he was muttering in his heart, how did he become his own brother? This is really a brother delivered to the door. Why did Mr. Zheng call me a brother? Brother, I've thought about it a lot this year. We shouldn't be like this. There is a word called distant friendship and close attack. I took a look at the market sales of our 2 small appliances. We should cooperate. The biggest enemy is Changhong. Do you understand? Mr. Zheng said emotionally. You're right, what do you think? Lu Feng asked. That's right, my sales channel is not as good as Jia Feng's. Now our sales channel is still outsourced. If the 2 of us cooperate in sales channel, isn't this a win-win situation? Lu Feng nodded and said, that is to say, let Jia Mei's sales channel sell your products, and then your channel sell my products and expand sales channels, right? Yes, but it's only limited to the field of small household appliances, not like TVs, because the sales channel is outsourced, and I can't control it. What do you think? It's not that good, my products are not as powerful as yours. Selling them together will only make mine more difficult to sell. Lu Feng refused without thinking. No, I can give you a certain share of the technology in the field of small household appliances, brother, can I lose you? Mr. Zheng's voice was full of righteousness. However, Lu Feng could only hear cunning in his voice, but after thinking about it again, let's look at the technology first. Let's meet and talk. I'll go to Shenzhen in 2 days. Okay, brother, I'll hold a banquet for you. The other end of the phone was very sincere and talked about the improvement of Jia Feng in terms of technology for a long time. Anyway, it was very beautiful, what family, what brother company. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng always felt that the words he said were somewhat familiar. Lu Feng called Mr. Du again, and just after a few chats, Mr. Du gave Lu Feng a big surprise. Mr. Lu, the movie you invested in exploded at the box office, breaking 20 million. Oh, Lu Feng said calmly. Ah. I said that the movie box office broke 20 million, didn't you hear it? Du Yan was a little afraid to believe. I heard, what's so surprising about this? Lu Feng really didn't have any surprises. The box office of the film Wu Zhuangyu and Suchi'er is already very high, and with the golden combination of Xingye and De Shu, the box office is guaranteed. We will meet in Shenzhen in 2 days to discuss cooperation. I have a lot of things during this time. I will introduce you to a person in charge to contact you. This is also a good opportunity for you to enter the mainland market, Lu Feng said solemnly. No problem. See you in 2 days. Lu Feng hung up the phone, stood up and left the office. In the past 2 days, he had to make arrangements for the company. Zhang Fengxia really managed the internal management well, but there were still many problems between major departments. In the past 2 days, Lu Feng held a lot of meetings, basically in series, and even went to a subordinate supporting factory for inspection. The advantage of a company supporting itself and investing in heavy assets is that it will not be strangled at the critical moment. There is no absolute good or bad between asset light and asset heavy. Asset light investment is small and very flexible. Yesterday, it may be a clothing company, and the next day, it will be able to get rid of suppliers and start selling machinery. Lufeng's requirements for supporting factories are to seek market growth points by themselves, maintain their own profit points when supplying and demand the main factory areas, explore the market by themselves, and not blindly rely on supplying GFeng for a living. The requirement is that when the internal demand is large, the internal supply is given priority, the internal sales are not good, the direction is adjusted in time, and the external market is sought, and the company cannot be dragged down. After the opening speech, some middle-level managers began to feel that the company was unstable and they were already leaving. Lufeng held a meeting with the top management. GFeng Electronics could not collapse. Once a crisis really occurs, you can sell some supporting factories in exchange for cash flow. This is already the worst choice. If you really can't, borrow money from financial companies to cross the bridge. In the summer, when the bank's 200 million loan is due, it is completely possible to borrow 200 million from other places first, repay the money first, and then borrow from the bank. If the bank does not lend, Lufeng will go to Huan Youwei. This is his confidence. GFeng Electronics is Huan Youwei's face. As long as he can't come up with a second GFeng Electronics, this face cannot be lost. As far as Lufeng knows, this year's investment promotion has already started. GFeng Electronics has become a very good case, and it is displayed to the outside world. Just because of the loan of 200 million, Huan Youwei turned against Lufeng? This is an impossible thing to happen. 2 days passed in a blink of an eye. Lufeng was sitting in the car heading for the airport, next to Wei Yandan. She had changed a lot in half a year. The whole person lost weight and looked a little sharper. When facing Lufeng, he was much calmer and more sophisticated in his work. According to her words, in the past half year, in addition to dealing with various things during the day, she has been self-studying at night, including personnel management, finance, business planning, etc., which is quite complicated. Mr. Liu, in terms of entertainment, do you want to take advantage of the other party's advantages and integrate resources to complete our growth, or is it a temporary transition? Wei Yandan asked with a sideways face. It is an expedient measure, but entertainment and media are inseparable. I also hope to have my own media to communicate. After we have our own media, we will communicate our values. The media in this world is the loudspeaker. Whoever has the loudest voice will be trusted by ordinary people. Hu Lufeng leaned on the position and closed his eyes to meditate. My idea is that this year, I will use the resources of the other party to conduct commercial performances in the mainland, and draw profits from it, and the return will be relatively large. When the time comes, I will sign an exclusive agent in an artist's region. Do you think he can agree? Do your best, and talk about it yourself. Okay. Wei Yandan turned her eyes out the window, wondering what she was thinking. The business department is a comprehensive department that integrates the internal resources of the enterprise. The Talent Reserve Center is in charge, and the others have their own superior departments. The direction of entertainment media is her first time working on a specific project, which is very ambitious. As the plane landed, Lufeng asked Lu Cheng to arrange for Wei Yandan's group to stay. He drove home by himself, opened the door, and walked into the house. For some reason, he felt a little empty in his heart. The house was cleaned in an orderly manner. On the sofa was a half-knitted scarf that Zhang Xiaoyan had originally planned to surround Lufeng when he went back, but it was not finished. There was a sewing box on the table and a white one on the armrest. A plastic bag with clumps of yarn inside. The last time Lufeng came back, she said to knit a sweater, but Lufeng said that she didn't like wearing sweaters, but she had already bought the wool. Lu Feng insisted on holding the wool for a long time. Finish. In an environment, I am used to the existence of those people. When I am alone one day, I will feel all kinds of discomfort. Lu Feng originally planned to cook by himself, but he was not in the mood to do it. I called Zhang Xiaoyan and told her about her current mood, but she was laughed at. When was she not like this? In the evening, Lu Feng couldn't stay in the empty room any longer. He drove to the research and development company, had a drink with Lu Cheng, and stayed in the hotel. Early the next morning, Lu Feng was woken up by the sound of the pager. He picked it up and took a look. It was sent by Feng Xiao. He said that he had already set off. It's really a living ancestor. Lu Feng turned over, picked up the phone from the bedside, called the Feng family, asked for his page number, and sent him a message to continue sleeping. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Feng Xiao showed up at the hotel with a suitcase and sat and chatted with Lu Cheng in the living room. The reason why I came back after the new year is actually still worried about him. At present, the company has become like this, and my dad is very unhappy. So much money has been invested, and it's outrageous to make it like this. Feng Xiao sat opposite. Wearing Erlang's legs, his face is full of hatred for iron. Lu Cheng looked at his suitcase, nodded and said, I know, I can understand. After all, so much money has been invested, why don't you stay in the research and development company? This year's company's funds are mainly here. No, I have to follow Lu Feng closely. He must keep an eye on him, my dad said. Lu Cheng originally thought that the other party was looking at money because he was afraid of the outflow of funds, but now it seems that they are not bad for money, they are just staring at people. He was still thinking just now that Lu Feng told him not to be too stingy with his money. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 494. At 9:30, Lu Feng put on a light blue suit without a tie, walked out of the room, went to the living room, and saw Feng Xiao. In order to welcome me, is it so grand? Feng Xiao stood up with a bit of joy on his face, feeling that he was very important. Is President Du here? Lu Feng asked Lu Cheng. It is estimated that at noon, President Wei has already arranged for the dinner. Lu Cheng stood up and replied. Oh, Lu Feng nodded, looked at the suitcase next to Feng Xiao, and asked, aren't you going to make some investments after the new year, and you're bringing your suitcase? I'll supervise you, Feng Xiao said stubbornly. Then supervise it, speak in advance, follow me, and hear all the company's secrets. If the leakage causes the company's property damage, you will be held responsible. I'm going to have breakfast. President Du is here, tell me. I haven't eaten yet, Feng Xiao trotted out. The breakfast was very simple, a bowl of porridge and a small portion of pastries. Feng Xiao sat across from him, looked at Lu Feng several times, and said, I heard that you want to develop into entertainment. Business secrets, Lu Feng replied coldly. I am also a shareholder. You are the son of the shareholder, don't ask what you shouldn't ask, and don't give me any development advice or direction. I will be very busy during this time, so I don't have time to play with you. Lu Feng finished his meal. Feng Xiao was a little uncomfortable sitting across from such a formal Lu Feng. He was dressed in a suit, and his whole person was very delicate, like an elite talent, very cold, and people couldn't help but feel a little scared. At 11 o'clock, Wei Yandan returned the news, saying that he had received President Du and was on his way to the hotel. As the host, Lu Feng set off for the hotel ahead of schedule. At 11:30, Lu Feng met Mr. Du in the private room of the hotel. The two were very happy to meet each other. Since meeting Lu Feng, a series of problems in Xingkong media seemed to be solved easily. The people in Xiangjiang are still quite superstitious. During the Chinese New Year, Mr. Du found a fortune teller. According to the hexagram, Lu Feng would be his nobleman in the next 10 years, with good luck in the sky. Sit down, Lu Feng said politely. After everyone was seated, Wei Yandan sat next to Lu Feng. Let me introduce Mr. Du first. This is the Vice President of GFN Electronics, Mr. Wei, who is currently in charge of the business department. The next cooperation in entertainment and media is mainly her connection with you, Lu Feng introduced. Thunder Monkey, Wei Yandan said politely in two standard Hong Kong dialects, and she could tell that she had done her homework. After Mr. Du and Wei Yandan were polite, they looked at Feng Xiao again, exchanged a few words with him, and asked some things about Mr. Feng. I have had a meeting with the insiders, and everyone thinks that it is a very good choice to cooperate with GFN Electronics. You produce hardware, and we provide content support. In terms of content promotion, the artist's reputation is boosted, and there is a very good prospect. That's for sure. Our product sales are very good, and we also have a lot of resources in artist promotion and packaging. My idea is to first introduce some famous stars into the mainland to get a good start. Lu Feng looked at Du, always ask, what do you think? This is for sure, the key is the issue of piracy. The piracy in the mainland is too great. A few years ago, there were artist companies in Hong Kong that wanted to enter the mainland, but tapes, videotapes, and these things were pirated too hard, President Du said worriedly. The anti-theft thing, we will do it. It is unrealistic to implement anti-theft on the hardware. Complete anti-theft is unrealistic. I think what we can provide is that the market for high definition and lossless services is very large, and only 1/10 is required. Market, we will publish it. Mr. Du's concern about the mainland market is also very reasonable. Hong Kong has hit the mainland market before, but he was directly beaten back to Hong Kong by the pirate army. Lu Feng's idea is that the hardware is anti-theft and more high definition and high quality content. The two chatted very happily. Wei Yandan expressed her opinions from time to time. There was no drinking during the meal, but the atmosphere at the dinner table was very good. Even Feng Xiao often joins the discussion. After eating, he went to the living room for tea. Lu Feng sat down and asked, then the joint venture is settled like this. Does President Du have any thoughts on equity? The result of our internal discussions is that we hope to hold 51% of the shares, the star artists are ours, and the content output is also ours. What you do is packaging, publicity, organization of performances, and TV stations, President Du said out of mind. Lu Feng nodded slightly, he was thinking of this result, but he still wanted to fight for it. 50% of a company, we invest 5 million, you can invest a little less, we want the mainland distribution rights of artists, movies, and songs, and we want artists to come, sign contracts, follow our arrangements, and that is, you must endorse the GFN electronic platform, you can pay the endorsement fee, but the price will not be too high. Lu Feng looked at President Du and said. President Du had a look of embarrassment on his face. This was equivalent to investing 5 million, and he ate all the meat, leaving only a bone stick for him. Mr. Lu, I can't explain it when I go back. This condition is too harsh. Lu Feng understood his idea. He just wanted to come to the mainland to test the water, but he was unwilling to invest too much. He wanted to find a company to take the risk. Once the business here is good, as a major shareholder, he would immediately dilute his equity and introduce it from Xiangjiang. The new shareholder, GFN Electronics, was squeezed out of the board of directors after a few years. We invested 8 million, and you invested 2 million, which is still the condition just now. Lu Feng looked at him and said, this is the best condition I can give. If you can't agree, I will follow up with you. Contact other big companies in Hong Kong, such as Golden Harvest. Don't. President Du quickly pondered that there are not many big stars under Star Media, and they are also second-order dealers. They sign artists out with some companies, and then get them to the mainland, and take a cut of them. Lu Feng talked with the big film and television company, and it was indeed possible to talk. The problem is that 8 million won't solve the problem. Now he wants to use small money to do big things. The two pulled back and forth several times, and President Du also called several times to go back, and finally agreed. After President Du went back to rest, only Lu Feng, Wei Yandan, and Feng Xiao were left in the living room. Wei Yandan knew that Lu Feng's original budget was 6 million, which exceeded the budget of 2 million. Mr. Lu, after the entry of Hong Kong films, dubbing is still required. These are all money. Can songs and movies alone drive the sales of tapes and videotapes? Wei Yandan worried. I'm not using them to drive sales, but I hope to stop the market's decline. These are not enough. Lu Feng thought for a while, took a deep breath and lowered his voice a little. In terms of content, we need to make something that everyone likes and hears, something that meets the unpretentious needs of the masses, understand? What? Wei Yandan was confused. She suddenly felt that she couldn't understand what President Lu was saying. Seeing that she didn't understand, Lu Feng thought about it again and said, "It's imported from an island country. The scene is relatively simple, the content is relatively simple, and the characters are relatively small. This kind of content is currently in great demand in the terminal market and can stimulate product sales." Wei Yandan still doesn't quite understand it. It seems to involve her blind spot of knowledge. She has worked hard to learn so much, but there are still things she doesn't understand. She is a little flustered. "Oh, what do you want me to say?" Lu Feng was helpless, rubbing his face with his hands, thinking about it and whispering in Wei Yandan's ear. Wei Yandan was also a woman, but she didn't blush. She froze for a moment and said, "Mr. Lu, this method doesn't seem very decent. What do I want to do with dignity?" Cooking and eating, Lu Feng looked at her and said, "Not only the introduction of these high-quality content, but also the in-depth exploration of local characteristics, such as some local folk songs. You can find some girls dressed in cooler clothes, singing to and fro, telling you that simple art contains great business opportunities. If someone finds out, it will affect the brand," Wei Yandan said embarrassedly. "So this matter, Jiafeng Electronics can't do it, and it can't appear in the store where the terminal is sold. When the time comes, it will promote and guide, buy a home theater and get a blood spray gift package. This thing can't be in the store, downstairs, or another street. Then just do this directly. Aren't you tired of watching too much?" Wei Yandan burst out laughing. She was really convinced by Lu Feng. She knew everything. "By the way, there is one more thing. Help me register a company, take me as a legal person, register a limited liability company. The principal does not need to be too much, 500,000, don't have any trouble with Jiafeng and GMA. Contact and register individually," Lu Feng ordered. Wei Yandan just said that he knew, and the others did not ask. They discussed the name of the media company jointly with Star Media and the specific development direction for a long time. Feng Xiao, who was sitting on the side, saw that the two of them were chatting hotly, and he couldn't understand what the content of the conversation just now was, but it could actually make a product sell well. When Wei Yandan was about to leave, Lu Feng asked her to make another dinner, and another boss was coming in the evening. After the matter was settled, Lu Feng stood up and stretched, ready to go back to the room to rest for a while, but Feng Xiao couldn't hold back, stood up and asked, "What did you tell her just now?" "It's the thing that everyone likes and sees and is deeply loved by the general public." Feng Xiao's face was full of curiosity. Lu Feng was speechless, looked at him and said, "Don't know if you shouldn't know, go back to the house and rest. You can't hide it from me. Even if it is a design business secret, I have the right to know it. Just tell me, I also want to learn more." Feng Xiao chased out. "Long knowledge. Don't ask stupid questions that children shouldn't ask." Lu Feng waved his hands and said, "I'll tell you when you grow up, don't ask." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 495. Lu Feng returned to his room, lay on the bed for a while and sat up again, thinking carefully about the reason why Mr. Zheng took the initiative to post it. In the subdivisions of radio and tape players, Desheng and Degan are definitely the industry leaders, but the market in this subdivision is not large now. As for saying, he really just wants to share sales channels with Jiafeng Electronics, and Lu Feng is not a fool. This kind of thing is absolutely impossible. Even if it is exchanged with some technology of small household appliances, Lu Feng will not necessarily change it. For a while, I didn't know what he was doing. There are no tricks to win. Lu Feng sighed, there are people and things that he doesn't understand, just like an elephant can't dream of a snake and delusionally swallow him. In the evening, another private room was reserved. Wei Yandan was in contact with President Du all afternoon. He needed to clarify some details and implement them into the contract, otherwise it would be troublesome in the future. Mr. Zheng held a simple meeting with a group of executives, and then called Li Quanliang of Changhong. He did not want to meet Changhong in the market in the short term. In short, stabilize Changhong and prepare to swallow Jiafeng Electronics. At 6:30 in the evening, the sky was dim, and Mr. Zheng changed his clothes. At this time, he was in high spirits. At the age of 40, he seemed to have found the goal of his life. The heart that had been silent for many years was surging again. The passion of a middle-aged man cannot be mobilized by any woman, only ambition and dominance can make him do so. Before going downstairs, he called Lu Feng and went downstairs by car to the hotel. At 7 o'clock, Lu Feng was already waiting in the private room. Wei Yandan sat on the side and talked about the results of the afternoon discussion. Feng Xiao was a little bored sitting there. The dinner at night was basically the same as the dishes ordered at noon. He was a little tired of eating. Lu Feng didn't care about eating at all. In his last life, he ate 6 meals a day. It doesn't matter what he eats, or even whether he eats it or not. What matters is whether he can talk about what he wants to talk about. Isn't there a sentence in the sketch, the last meal is accompanied by the next meal, and finally the gastroptosis is accompanied. This Mr. Zheng didn't talk to the outside world before, he wanted to treat us as a competitor. Why did he suddenly change direction? Wei Yandan asked with some doubts. Lu Feng couldn't figure it out either, so he shook his head and said, I can't see through him either. They don't seem to have a tense relationship with Changhong. They want to win us over to fight against Changhong, Wei Yandan guessed. The key is that our market share is not high. Fighting with Changhong is not a matter of 1 or 2 days. If I were him, I would catch Jiafeng Electronics and fight hard, swallow our market, and then do a long-term confrontation. Preparation. Doing business is not the 3 kingdoms. There is no need to unite the weak to besiege the strong. Instead, it will quickly drive the weak and then conduct a long-term market competition. The private room door was pushed open, and a waiter walked in and said, Your distinguished guest is here. Lu Feng stood up and saw that Mr. Zheng walked in with a smile on his face. Lu Feng also put a smile on his face and stretched out his hand to shake hands. Brother, long time no see. Mr. Zheng rushed up with a big hug and hugged Lu Feng directly. Lu Feng was stunned when he hugged him like that. It's a bit fat for the New Year's eating, it's solid. Mr. Zheng patted Lu Feng's shoulder and said very affectionately. It's okay, you're not too bad. Lu Feng was a little overwhelmed by him, so he politely said, take a seat. After everyone was seated, Lu Feng introduced Feng Xiao and Wei Yandan, and began to serve the food. He didn't intend to drink, but President Zheng insisted on drinking, saying that brothers have not seen for a long time, and it would be like not drinking. After 3 drinks, 3 dishes, and 5 flavors, Mr. Zheng sat next to Lu Feng in 3 sentences without the word brother. He even mentioned a brother from his early years. He was really a noble man in my life. At that time, he was still in the brigade. He was really an iron man. At that time, he couldn't eat enough and couldn't eat well. When I was growing up, I took a bag at night and went with one piece. After digging potatoes, after returning to the city, we entered the state-owned equipment factory together, and within a few years we just caught up with the first batch of mixed systems. I saw that there was money to be made here, and as soon as the two of us added up, we bought a part of the equity. Mr. Zheng recalled that year and seemed to be deeply moved. At that time, it was about the same age as you, and it was very ambitious. After making money, the factory was not good enough. Later, I raised bonds and covered the counter. Later, I found a relationship and started to be a dealer for a state-run radio factory, called Lotus Brand. It's just step by step. Without him I wouldn't be where I am today. Lu Feng was filled with emotion when he heard it. He thought of Zhou Jiangguo. Without him, he wouldn't be today, and he doesn't know how his life is now. His father is still the village chief. I have such brothers too. They are all nobles in our lives. The two sighed for a long time, and they did not mention what happened to the brother later. So, I can see that Lu is always a person who values love and righteousness. During this period of time, the market has changed. Last year's battle was too fierce. I thought it would take a few years to hit the small home appliance industry, but I didn't expect it so fast. Every time the market share of first-tier companies expands, there are corpses behind them, and how many medium-sized electronics companies closed down last year? Lu Feng nodded and agreed with what he said. I've thought about it, holding a group is king. When the risk is too great, holding together is the safest thing. Who is our biggest enemy? Changhong, a nationwide electronics company, has an average market share. And then there are the local snakes occupying the provinces, just like the heroes competing for the deer in the Central Plains. President Zheng made a metaphor with pride. Lu Feng agrees with this analogy. Brother, you are quite wealthy. I have seen the development of many companies. GFN Electronics is definitely the fastest growing. The market channels in the current major provinces are the best. In business, never win today. Whoever wins tomorrow will be the real winner. Mr. Zheng asked Lu Feng, are you right? Yes, very true. And I am in my heart, you are the protagonist of tomorrow, but you must also occupy a short-term favorable position. My products, plus your channels, will absolutely sweep everything in the small home appliance market. Mr. Zheng burped. He said, how much meat can a rabbit have, and the elephant, Changhong, can eat enough? Listening to your words is better than reading 10 years of books. Lu Feng picked up the glass and said, the most important thing right now is of course the sales channel. If Mr. Zheng wants to borrow chickens to lay eggs, he must give me some nutrition, right? Look at you, the family has two words, I have technology. I know that your R/U0026D company has invested a lot of money this year, and we can share technology. Your channel sells my goods, and they sell them for a while. The initiative is in your hands, the technology has been learned by you, we can be passive. Brother, I admit that I am under pressure to do this now, but it is only good for you, not bad. Feng Xiao listened with relish. The plan proposed by Mr. Zheng was very good, and it was a win-win situation. I think Mr. Zheng's idea is very good. The young man has vision, Mr. Zheng praised without hesitation. Lu Feng glanced at him and said, I don't want you to think, I want me to think. I think this matter is too much to take advantage of. Mr. Zheng. If you feel bad about it, you can give me a sum of money. Mr. Zheng said without blushing. Lu Feng was shocked. He really didn't realize that this man was so thick-skinned. If he carried out what he said, GFN Electronics would use its own channels to sell his products and share technology. His technology was all about small household appliances. GFN Electronics invested 100 million R/U00260 to share with him. Brain kicked by a donkey? In today's dinner, Mr. Zheng was all saying, you can't be led by the nose like this anymore. Since you're shameless, don't blame your brother for showing your true colors. Brother, it's really difficult for me this year, and everyone can see that. Lu Feng put his hand on Mr. Zheng's shoulder and asked, Mr. Zheng, do you really think of me as a brother? What you said, I swear to God. Mr. Zheng raised 3 fingers as he spoke. No need, you don't have any sky above your head now, it's a lamp. Lu Feng pressed his hand down, smashed his mouth and pondered, if you really treat me Lu Feng as a brother, you can lend me some money. What's the matter? Mr. Zheng was shocked. Lend me some money, brother, I'm in trouble. Let's turn it around with you. Look at your reaction. It's very hurtful. Lu Feng's face was full of disappointment. No, Mr. Lu, that's how it is. Mr. Zheng was a little panicked. This was unexpected. There is a saying that it is better to teach a man to fish than to teach him how to fish. It is not impossible to lend you money, the key is that the money will be spent, and cooperation is king. The cooperation model I just mentioned is beneficial to both of us. Mr. Zheng said with great sincerity. I don't want fishing nets, I want fish. Besides, can I really borrow money from you? Lu Feng took his hand off his shoulders, leaned back on the chair and said, I just tested you, but you are. This time, Mr. Zheng was extremely embarrassed. A person who couldn't even pass the test could not get off the stage. I just told you this. If you really borrow money from me, then I will definitely lend it to you. Really? Then you lend me tens of millions and pay you back in a few months. Lu Feng stretched out his arms and hugged Mr. Zheng and said with a smile, good brother. Didn't you just say temptation? Mr. Zheng was already a little unhappy in his heart. Yeah, that was a test just now, I've already finished the test, so this time it's real. Tomorrow, I'll stay here for 2 more days, let's walk the bill, I'll sign a contract with you, although we'll be with my brother it's like, but the brothers still pay the bills, right? Lu Feng asked. What time is it? Mr. Zheng hurriedly looked at his watch, it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening, he picked up his glass and said, it's not early, let's go back to rest after we finish our glass of wine, my daughter-in-law is here. I haven't been in good health for a few days. As for the money that President Lu said, I will definitely borrow it. The problem is that I need to go back and discuss it with my wife. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 496. Mr. Zheng was very slippery. The channel sharing was not settled. He began to think about retreating. Everyone politely went downstairs, and Lu Feng personally sent Mr. Zheng into the car. Mr. Lu, the world will be divided and divided for a long time. The electronics industry will usher in huge changes in the past few years. Whether it is a state-owned enterprise or a private enterprise, survival is the most important thing. When you and I join forces, there are only advantages and no disadvantages. Mr. Zheng looked at Lu Feng and said seriously, I hope you think about it. I know, how about we make a gentleman's agreement? Before we cooperate, if there is any news in the market, the 2 companies will notify each other, and there will be no direct confrontation. Lu Feng asked, what do you think? This is no problem, Mr. Lu, I know that GFN Electronics has a difficult life, don't take it hard, corporate bankruptcy is a corporate liquidation, and it has nothing to do with you. If you can't handle it, you will apply for bankruptcy and reorganization. I feel like it's all overcast. What Mr. Zheng said was particularly bluffing, as if the next moment was the end of the world. Lu Feng laughed, and after chatting for so long, he finally spit out the idea. It turned out that he wanted to copy the bottom of GFN Electronics. Mr. Zheng, did you even plan for bankruptcy and reorganization for me? Lu Feng looked at him and asked. No, It means that in the current market environment, Mr. Lu Changhong has the ambition of the Qin country and should not be neglected. Now there are Konka, TCL, Skyworth, etc. in the south, higher in the north, and Mr. Zheng's hand froze from the car window. No, it's basically in the south, the rest are peonies, chrysanthemums, etc. Lu Feng said for him. But the central region is very threatened. You started with pandas. You know how beautiful pandas were in the past. In the past 2 years, there will be a lot of heroes, not to mention foreign thieves, Sharp, Sony. Okay, go back to sleep. Lu Feng grabbed his hand and stuffed it into the car, and said, go back and talk to your wife about borrowing money, don't bother with words. Really, this situation is very similar to the Warring States period. The world's disputes will begin. Who can compete in the Central Plains and win the world will not be known after many years, but we are in the battle of the big era. We should remember our own mission. There are big opportunities for big changes. We should be self-improvement. If we don't speak, we will be a blockbuster. The cooperation between the two of us is definitely a widow looking for a bachelor. Lu Feng couldn't listen anymore and waved to the driver, indicating that he could drive. The car has already driven forward, and Mr. Zheng is still gesturing with one hand outside the window, shouting, Mr. Lu, we must think carefully about the cooperation between the two of us. We should make great achievements in the big era. I have pride in my chest, and I will live with confidence. 200 years, it will hit the water for 3,000 miles. Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief, and stood there speechless. This man has a way of pretending to be insane. Wei Yandan pondered on the side and said, I think Mr. Zheng's metaphor for the current situation is quite appropriate. This person feels a fire in his chest. Feng Xiao said with deep emotion, I didn't expect that there are so many passionate people in mainland China. I believe his future will be extraordinary. He said a few words, you just follow along, right? Lu Feng looked at him and said, ordinary or uncommon, it has nothing to do with a person's ability. I really think that all sparks can start a prairie fire. How many fires are there every year? I just think he is very arrogant, has that ambition, that feeling. You don't look like a young man, and you don't understand it. Feng Xiao waved his hand straight, his face was full of disgust. He sometimes felt that Lu Feng was attacking people very set. I know what you want. You find a night booth at night and sit there and listen. It's all your dreams. Your state is very important. What's more important is to recognize the reality clearly and speak in a clear-cut way. I don't know what to do, it's addicting to listen to people's bragging. Lu Feng said to the two of them, go back to sleep. As for Mr. Zheng's thoughts, Lu Feng has already guessed 7 or 8. It can only be said that Mr. Zheng's idea is good, and there is no room for execution. It is true that many companies will collapse this year, but GFN Electronics is not one of them, and Lu Feng knows that there are many people who are looking forward to the collapse of GFN Electronics and prepare a feast. It was almost 11 o'clock when he returned to the room, and Lu Feng was still worried and called Zhang Wanmen. Hey, who is it? The other end of the phone was apparently asleep, with a bit of ambiguity in his voice. Brother, it's me, Lu Feng, what's going on over there? Lu Feng asked with concern. Tomorrow they will come, and I don't know what to talk about. There are a lot of things involved, but the focus is on the patent rights and the equity ratio of the joint venture. The other end of the phone sighed sadly. After all, you are engaged in research and development, so it's normal that you don't understand these things. It's okay. There are brothers here. I'll definitely talk to you when I go there. Lu Feng thought for a moment and said, if you think the time is not enough, I'll bring someone over to talk to you first. Don't, it's too much trouble for you, and I'm sorry for asking you to put your own business down. You really make me feel ashamed for doing so. The voice on the phone was full of apology. It's all right, the two of us said such foreign words. You finally have a chance. The brothers will definitely help you. You let them rest for a few days, and I will bring someone over there. Lu Feng was afraid that he would be fooled. Reminder, before I go, don't promise anything, lest it be difficult to talk about. Thank you so much. It's okay, it should be. The two were polite for a long time, and Lu Feng asked about the differences between the two sides in the current negotiation. After chatting for a long time, he hung up the phone. Lu Feng lay down for a while, and called Su Yurong again, but he didn't answer the phone, and Lu Feng didn't continue to call, so he lay down and went to sleep. The next day, Lu Feng went to the R/U0026D company in the morning. He held a meeting and asked Liukin about the layout of R/U0026D this year and the technical breakthrough points. Liukin has cooperated with several large laboratories, including major industry companies such as Sharp and Sony. GFN Electronics paid for it, and there are people there. GFN Electronics also sent a team to study and develop, and their project results to them. I spent a lot of money to be apprentices to others. How much I can learn depends on the people I send. At the same time, 3 groups of overseas study teams have been organized. Contribute to the former chief engineer of major companies to set up overseas R/U0026D bases, and attract everyone who can be attracted. As long as he has technical breakthroughs and ideas, he will give money to establish R/U0026D studios or R/U0026D branches in the place where he lives. Lu Feng looked at the ledger and saw that the budget for the first half of the year was 60 million yuan. Even if it was him, it was painful. He was really spending money like water. The time is tight and the task is heavy. This is the best way. As long as half of these investors, laboratories, R/U0026D bases, collaborators, and expatriate students get results, we will be successful. This time next year, we will be successful. We have our own technology patents, and we plan to establish R/U0026D branches in some countries and cities where researchers gather. Lu Cheng's expression was a little heavy. This is really a waste of money from the whole world. If there is no result next year, there is really no room for recovery. It won't take half of it. If 1/10 of these people, studios, and R/U0026D bases have achieved results, then we are successful. For those who do not achieve results, we can wait slowly, Lu Feng said solemnly. The problem is that there are definitely scams out there. Cheat, it's normal to be deceived when doing such a thing. I've fooled so many people, but I'm not allowed to fool me once. But it can't be an empty shell. As long as it's experimental research and development, even if it fails, it's meaningful. There are countless paths in the world. As long as you try this path and you can't go through it, then you will be one step closer to success. I've been under a lot of pressure recently. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and scratched his hair with his hands. Don't be under pressure. Research and development of this thing is not done overnight. It takes a long time to invest. In the short term, signal, pixel, noise reduction, screen, circuit design are very important. In the long run, you need to work harder on LEDs, and at the same time with the diversification and demand of TVs will be required not only to receive signals and convert them into images, but also to display more things, such as program announcements, channel selection, and small screen operations. Lu Cheng kept nodding his head. He felt that Lu Feng knew a lot about TV sets. Although he didn't understand technology, he had a good grasp of the future needs of TV sets. When the demand increases, the algorithm needs to be improved, and the processor needs to be improved exponentially. Semiconductor is the heart and the core industry of the future. Lu Feng knew that it was too early to say this. Some companies could produce TV chips in early 2000, and the algorithms and precision required for them were not high. During the meeting, Lu Feng showed Feng Xiao the budget for a while, and then went for a walk in the company. In the afternoon, he went to the subordinate test unit and some R/U0026D bases. I don't know how many meetings were held in 2 days. Lu Cheng was with him and took off his heels. Feng Xiao put forward a lot of suggestions during this trip. I was very tired these 2 days. In the evening, I had a meal with the senior management of the R/U0026D company. When I returned to the hotel, Feng Xiao sat in the co-pilot and grinned, turned his head and asked, "Let's rest tomorrow, we've been walking too much these days. Take a break and fly to Hefei tomorrow." Lu Feng leaned on his seat and instructed Wei Yandan next to him, "The entertainment company will speed up and try to start operations in March." "Okay, I will speed up. Some terms have been negotiated. If there are no surprises, the contract will be implemented within a week. For the landing of the entertainment company, there are currently several places to choose from: Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Beijing. Let's just go to Shenzhen. It's convenient to go back and forth. When those stars come, they should test the waters in the south first. If they can, they will push it to the whole country. If it doesn't work, the round-trip fee will also save money." Wei Yandan laughed, and President Lu even took into account the toll and return of the stars. I called Zhang Wanmen at night, and the next day, Lu Feng took Feng Xiao on the plane. "Why are we going to Hefei? I help my brother." Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 497. 2 hours later, as the plane landed, Lu Feng saw the city with a good history. Now it is not an important city and the infrastructure is not so good. After more than 20 years of waiting, this will be an emerging place for technology. Mr. Zhang has been busy these days, so he really didn't have time to pick him up. He was all students. In the end, Lu Feng asked for an address and took a taxi by himself. On the way there, Lu Feng chatted with the master. Mandarin is not so popular now, and the local dialect is not very understandable. Lu Feng exchanged a few words, but didn't say it at all. "You bet everything on VCD, which is very unwise in terms of business investment risk." Feng Xiao seemed to want to express his opinion. "Don't tell me your story. An international student has already told me. I don't need you to repeat it. I can confirm that VCD is the explosive point of this year," Lu Feng said solemnly. "But there is time for this outbreak. I have learned product curve diagrams, and there is no straight line rise. It takes time to gradually rise. The comprehensive time is, yes, 3-7 years. Didn't you listen to the lectures well?" Lu Feng cast a glance at him. "How do you know?" Feng Xiao asked in surprise. "Listen to what others said. I'll squint for a while and stop talking." Lu Feng yawned and leaned back in his seat to stop talking. According to the sales volume of VCDs in the last generation, 1.4 million units were sold in the first year, and the sales volume of home theaters this year was more than 1.6 million units and LD DVD players were 1 million units. The domestic consumption potential is there. The starting price of the most inferior cameras for playing videotapes is 3,000 yuan, and some even tens of thousands of yuan. The salary of ordinary people is 200 to 300 yuan a month. It is so expensive, and it is not just a product that is just needed. It can sell millions of units, which shows how much money there is. Everyone's experience is different, and their vision of this era is different. There is a saying that what you see is what you get. In Lu Feng's memory, in the 1990s, people were poor, wearing plastic sandals for 5 yuan and 20 yuan for a pair. Money can buy a very good coat, but the current spending power is telling Lu Feng that not everyone is like this. If we follow the sales volume of the previous life, the sales volume of more than 1 million units will not be enough to support Jiafeng Electronics. At that time, there were two key factors for the low sales volume. One was the lack of sales channels and the other was the high price. At first, a DVD player could be sold for 5,000 yuan, and even some places were very popular, and it sold for about 8,000 yuan. It once became a luxury product. If the hot market, it would attract pirated copies. In the last life, Wanyan Company founded by Zhang Wanmen, from 1993 to 1996, the market share of Wanyan VCD dropped below 3%. High prices will bring profit margins to piracy and assembly. Lu Feng learned this case in a business class in his previous life. The patent rights were lost, the market was lost, and an engineer caused the collapse of the commercial market. "It's here," the master shouted. Lu Feng opened his eyes and woke up like a dream. He watched the hotel next to him take out the money from his pocket and hand it to the master, saying that there is no need to look for it. "Wait," the master shouted as he got out of the car. "No need to look for it." Lu Feng waved his hand while holding the suitcase. "No, not enough money." Lu Feng touched his pocket again. Originally, he wanted to pay 10 yuan to be generous, but he took out 1 yuan and hurriedly handed it over and said that there is no need to look for it. In the hotel, Mr. Zhang had already opened the room. Lu Feng said the room number and went upstairs. In the elevator, Lu Feng looked at Feng Xiao and said, "During this time, when there are other people present, you don't need to be too much. Speak, you know." "Why can't I speak?" Feng Xiao was a little dissatisfied. "Either you just listen to me, or you can leave now." "Also, I said who you are, who are you, who are you, you need to know how to cooperate, understand?" Lu Feng looked at him and said. "Didn't you say you're here to help your brother?" Feng Xiao wondered. "Yup." "Why? Why are there so many? Why are you 100,000? Remember one, be obedient." Lu Feng patted him on the shoulder. The elevator door opened and the two walked out. After entering the room and putting everything down, Lu Feng picked up the room phone and called President Zhang. "Mr. Zhang, I brought someone here and have already checked into the hotel. It's hard work, I'm really too busy, I'll go there right away. The restaurant is set, the best in the area, let's have dinner together in the evening," President Zhang said politely. "It's all right, you can do your work first, I can say, there is nothing wronged or not, let's not talk about that, you will do it first," Lu Feng said politely. "I'm done. I'll be there in a while. Shall we have afternoon tea or coffee?" "It's all right, the guest is the host." After saying a few more words, Lu Feng put down the phone. He was very relieved of himself. He was afraid that Feng Xiao would make a mistake, so he went to the next room to settle a few more words. Half an hour later, President Zhang hurried upstairs, walked to the door of Lu Feng's room and knocked. When the door opened, Lu Feng looked at the person in front of him. He had not seen a lot of haggard for a while, and he had not shaved his beard. It could be seen that he was very busy. Come in," Lu Feng looked at him and teased, "Mr. Zhang is getting more and more manly. I'll call you a powerful person." Lu Feng knocked on Feng Xiao's door and said politely, "President Feng, President Zhang is here and I want to see you." Feng Xiao opened the door and saw Lu Feng's face full of astonishment. Lu Feng squeezed a smile at him, but there was a threat in his eyes, and said, "President Feng, please." Feng Xiao was still confused and had been invited to the next room. President Zhang was stunned when he saw such a person, looked at Lu Feng and asked, "Where's the team?" "Mr. Zhang, don't think that this boss is so young, he can lead a team by himself. I finally invited him, a genius from Hong Kong, the future helm of Sun Hong Kai. He graduated from high school at the age of 2, graduated from Harvard at the age of 15, and was a graduate student at the age of 17. At the same time, he started to run his own company, especially short-term investment, the fastest record, earning 9 million in 3 minutes, known as the fast man in the stock market." Feng Xiao was stupid. He now understands why Lu Feng told him to keep his mouth shut as much as possible. "It's not over yet," Mr. Feng has mainly worked in international consulting companies, law firms and financial institutions for many years and participated in many mergers of large international companies, including the acquisition of a subsidiary of Alstom and some acquisitions by General Motors Group. Served as financial advisor and legal advisor in the case. Feng Xiao couldn't take it anymore, took a deep breath and said, "That's right. It's a young talent. I used to feel that I was very satisfied with what I have achieved today at the age of 30. Ever since I met President Liu, I felt that I was nothing." "Hurry up and sit down," President Zhang said politely. Feng Xiao felt a little lack of confidence. He sat down and said, "If you don't believe me, you can go check it out." Lu Feng glanced at him. He really thought that people would believe everything he said. They would definitely check it out. It only needed to find out that he was really an international student who graduated from a famous school and that he was the young master of Sun Hongkai. Strips are the easiest to look up. Letter, I have 100 letters from the person introduced by Mr. Liu. Mr. Zhang nodded frequently and said, "Now people have come, and they have negotiated a lot of contracts. The money is not right, that is, the company's equity and patents rights in this regard." Lu Feng looked at Feng Xiao and found that he did not speak. Feng Xiao coughed as they both looked at him. "Mr. Feng, just say anything, these are my brothers." Lu Feng looked at him with a smile, thinking to himself, "Don't you show off how much you have learned from your textbooks on weekdays. Why didn't you say a word at the critical moment? Since I'm going to say it, then I'll say it. First of all, the market is the local market, and the technology patents are owned by Mr. Zhang. There is only money there. According to conventional investment theory, on the surface, they are very risky. In fact, the inherent risk is very small. They must have a lot of understanding of the mainland market. Since they are benchmarking videotapes, they must know the market and growth rate of videotapes now. The $17 million is not to buy patent rights, but to acquire land and build factories. Spread out the channels, there is money in it. Even if it is lost, these are heavy assets that can be sold. The rest is patent rights. The value of technical patents is invaluable. Let's talk about the simplest formula for Coca-Cola. If Pemberton didn't selling admiration, but in the form of patent authorization and cooperative development, how much money will his descendants earn? $17 million seems a lot, but in fact the risk is extremely low. For them, it is a trade that only makes money and does not lose. Once the market breaks out and subverts the videotape market, then it will be 10 times the rate of return. I think that the mode of patent licensing, development and cooperation is in the best interest for you," Feng Xiao said proudly. "If you authorize him for 10 years, the sales will be good, and you will take it back after 10 years. If the sales are not good, you will not lose much." "That's great." Lu Feng took the lead in applauding. President Zhang thoughtfully nodded and said, "But the other party doesn't talk about this now. New technologies have market risks. You can give it to your good brother." Feng Xiao patted Lu Feng on the shoulder and said, "Trick him. Let's talk first, I'll give you the bottom line. It's best to cooperate according to this model," Lu Feng humbly said. "Then I'll talk to them tomorrow. According to this, I'll see if they agree. The main thing is that there is another question. I don't really want to cooperate with them. These people are not very easy to talk to." President Jiang's face was a little embarrassed. "What is the problem?" "These people have come to the municipal government and said they want to build a VCD production base here. The municipal people have come to me many times, doing various jobs and giving various discounts." President Zhang sighed. Lu Feng was stunned for a while, and said in his heart, "Trouble." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 498. At present, the bases in various cities are particularly popular, and industries, bases, pig breeding bases, agricultural bases, and if VCD forms an industrial base in the local area, it will be a great achievement. All of a sudden, the city has an industry endorsement, not to mention foreign investment. It is understandable that the municipal government attaches great importance to it. The problem is that Lufeng does not want VCD to fall here. The new factory over there in Dongguan is fully capable of the fastest production. It's easy to get Zhongguan men, but it's very difficult to get the local municipal administration. For them, this is the achievement of the mouth. It is estimated that they have already started to write the speech. Lufeng couldn't even imagine that kind of scene. If it was him, he would be pissed off. What did the city say? Lufeng inquired. The city is planning to make a plan, saying that it is to develop an industrial cluster, mainly VCD, to build the first electronic cluster park in the country, starting from all aspects of CD-ROM, content and industrial manufacturing. Zhang sighed and said, "Such a big one, Hope, I'll be honest, I'm also stressed." Lufeng's face was a little unsightly, and he licked his lips. The local municipal government was determined to seize this opportunity. It's normal to think about it. VCD was the only independent innovation product in the electronics field in China in the 1990s. Flowers, I'm sorry if you don't build a garden. I just can't get off the stage right now. The municipal side called me, and the foreign capital told me about the prospect. It's not that I don't want to cooperate with you, brother, Mr. Zhang said with grievances at Lufeng. I know, I understand. Lufeng reached out and patted him, comforting, it's all right, as long as it can develop well, everything else doesn't matter. I'm here to help you. I used to think that it was difficult to do technology, but now that I have come into contact with business things, I know that doing business is the most difficult thing. All forces are coming towards me. Don't you know that my phone was about to be called some time ago? It exploded, all kinds of liars, leather bag companies, and even some municipalities called me. As long as my property was settled with them, they would pay for my production. A look of helplessness appeared on President Jiang's face, and he took a deep breath. He had experienced too much during this time. Now the world is chaotic, you have been in a high position all the year round, and you have been separated from the market life. Let me tell you, now is the age of liars. You must be more careful when dealing with people. There are a lot of tricks, and I sometimes fall for it. Lufeng looked at the gradually setting sun outside and said, "Let me handle it, how about it? It's too much trouble for you, I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart. Sometimes I think you're too kind to me, and it's a little too good." President Zhang expressed his doubts. Brother, we are all good young people who served our country. We were not born at the end of the war. Otherwise, we are iron buddies who carry guns in the pit. What is this matter? As long as we contribute to the electronics industry and help the growth of the company, I, Lufeng, want to help. Mr. Zhang became emotional. If he didn't go through this, he didn't think highly of businessmen. He thought that businessmen were dirty and engaged in private activities. After this period of time, he understood how difficult it was to mediate. Grabbing Lufeng's hand, President Zhang said sincerely, "Good brother with affection and righteousness. Let's eat first. This matter is entrusted to me, can you trust me?" It's trustworthy, absolutely trustworthy, not to mention that there is an outstanding talent like President Feng. I believe it will be a success soon. President Zhang looked at Feng Xiao excitedly. Feng Xiao squeezed out a smile, feeling uncomfortable all over his body, quietly observed Lufeng, standing there. It was natural, just a part of acting is enough to learn by himself. We ate a meal together in the evening and talked about the foreign-funded team. Mr. Zhang has no ability now, and he is all counting on Lufeng. The meal was very good. After dinner at 9 o'clock, Lu Feng asked President Zhang to inform the foreign investment team that the first wave of negotiations would be held in the business meeting room of this hotel at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Satisfied, he went back to his room. Feng Xiao wandered back and forth nervously in Lu Feng's room. "What are you wondering about?" Lu Feng was leaning on the sofa and thinking about things. "Have you ever conducted international business negotiations? Do you have experience in this area?" Feng Xiao asked. Lu Feng shook his head. He had never talked to a foreign-funded team in his 2 lifetimes, but he had been in contact with many foreigners before. "What about tomorrow? Let's talk about it casually. Now the initiative is in my hands. I will press down first, the investment amount will remain the same, and the 10-year patent right will be authorized. We want 70% of the company's equity," Lu Feng said casually. "They certainly won't accept it. Let's go if you don't accept it. Foreign devils are so fooled. The key is the municipal administration." Lu Feng had a headache when he thought of this, so he stopped thinking about it, and said, "Don't care about the discussion, put my meal on me first." "In a bowl." "Your meal?" Feng Xiao asked curiously. "There's not much profit to be made here." "With such a big project, there is no oil or water," Lu Feng said, picked up the phone, and called He Jiali. "Even if there is oil and water, don't you wait until it gets dirty here, then take over." "Where is the oil and water now?" Feng Xiao was full of question marks. The phone was connected, and Lu Feng smiled and said, "Secretary He, are you asleep? You're calling from my office. How can I answer your call when I'm sleeping?" "President Lu, right?" The voice on the other end of the phone was dull and tired. "Yeah, you worked hard," Lu Feng politely. "Your factory is progressing very fast. I took a look the day before yesterday. Don't worry. As for some of the following payments, if you postpone it for a few days, you will definitely be indispensable. Don't worry. I'm not saying this, I still don't trust you, I just want to tell you good news. You've been following some technology newspapers recently, do you know about VCD technology?" Lu Feng asked. "VCD?" He Jiali suddenly remembered something. He rummaged through a stack of newspapers and found one. The headline was that 30-year-old technical talents conquered the world's problems, and VCD technology shocked the world. "I know, isn't this from Hefi? What?" He Jiali's mouth curled into a smile, as if he felt a different taste. Hey, Lu Feng laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha," He Jiali also laughed. "Don't tell me that you want to come to Dongguan for production. This is too exciting. The leaders over there will blow up my phone. Of course, if you can come here, don't say that you blow up my phone, you will blow me up." "Now, I can laugh out loud," He Jiali said excitedly. "This thing is still in progress, this Zhang is always my brother," Lu Feng said with a smile. "That's great, the new factory is even better for VCD production. I can change the park to a VCD park and set up a special park for you. Can Mr. Zhang come to the unveiling ceremony and say a few more words?" He Jiali said happily. "You have to take it slow, you see, I have good news. I will call you as soon as possible, not Huang Yowei. The relationship between the two of us is iron and tough, right?" Lu Feng asked. "I have long seen that you are not an ordinary person. As long as I can come over, I will try my best to help you get rid of the obstacles. I will tell you in advance that my energy is not large. After all, it is a cross-province. Everyone wants to eat meat, not to mention the people eat meat from the pot." He Jiali pondered. "When I need it, I will definitely say, that's right, there is a problem, this VCD can be produced anywhere, and I have a good relationship with Huang Yowei. Oh, it's difficult to handle this matter. When the time comes, I can't make a call. Explain, we won't meet again in the future," Lu Feng sighed, his voice full of embarrassment. "Secretary Huang won't blame you. They have such a good relationship. He definitely understands. Understanding is understanding. If you can find an excuse to stop him, for example, if your conditions are better, he will have nothing to say, right? Lu Feng asked. Ah, this, yes, I can give you a fake condition. Let's do superficial work, and we'll gag him anyway, he jolly suggested. People are not stupid. My idea is that 50 million is an interest-free loan. You know, I have a loan of 200 million due in the summer, and I have to rely on Huang Youwei. Give me the 200 million and move it later. You can also breathe a sigh of relief, Lu Feng hinted at the other party very bluntly. 50 million is too much, 30 million, 1 year interest-free, I will hold a meeting and ask, what do you think? 30 million? Lu Feng hesitated for a while. This money is okay, now as long as it is money, Lu Feng will put it in his pocket. Okay, I'll be busy first, you can rest early. Lu Feng hung up the phone after a few polite words. Feng Xiao, who was standing on the side, was already dumbfounded. He could not have dreamed that this matter was not necessarily clear, and he actually turned around and sold Zhang Wanmen for a good price. What's wrong? Lu Feng looked at him and asked. Mr. Lu, isn't your conscience uncomfortable with the money you earn? Don't ask me if I'm uncomfortable. Go back and ask your dad. When he was cutting leaks in the stock market, he probably wasn't uncomfortable, and I didn't harm his interests. Lu Feng knew that it wouldn't make sense to talk to idealists like him who just walked out of school. They just wanted to sell things, make money, and comply with laws and regulations. As everyone knows, the end result of being legal and compliant is slow efficiency, or else they can't get through. There are some things that can be done but not said, and some things that can be said and cannot be done. Lu Feng stood up and said to him, go back and rest. By the way, how is your English? Great. Is it okay to be a translator? Definitely no problem. Okay, serve as an interpreter for me tomorrow and have a good rest. Lu Feng waved at him, ready to wash up and sleep. Didn't you say I came to negotiate? How did I become a translator? Feng Xiao said a little unwillingly. I also want to talk to them, I have learned. Stop, it's not your old man's turn to do this kind of thing, I'll just do it, go back to the house and sleep. After Feng Xiao left, Lu Feng took a shower and lay on the bed. He originally called Su Yurong again and fell asleep. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 499. It was late at night, and there were 7 foreigners sitting in a parlor, headed by a bearded man in his 40s or 50s. His beard was very delicately trimmed and he had the feeling of an old gentleman. He said that the specific affairs were handed over to more professional people. We have been here for almost 3 days, and there has been no progress. I feel that this President Zhang is very insincere. I think so too. Constantly shirk, the local municipality is very sincere. I don't know what he thinks. We can only make such a large investment. I called the consulting company just now, and they told me they didn't understand the reason, which is really annoying. They are so unprofessional, they neglect us so much, and I can't figure it out. Is it possible that someone will pay more at the cost? Or is the local municipality ready to pay for it? Everyone was talking about the possibility. They didn't know much about the business environment in the mainland. Except for Smith, who took the lead, who came here in his early years, everyone else came here for the first time. During this period of time, they rarely go out. They are afraid of everything here, especially what they heard from the media. Safety is the first priority. Since he has entrusted it to someone else, he will know about the negotiation tomorrow, and rest early. Smith stood up and left the living room. Others can only go back to the house by themselves. Early the next morning, Lu Feng called Su Yurong and picked it up this time. Who is it? There was a bit of sleepiness on the other end of the phone. Me, Lu Feng, the company is currently registering, and it should be done in a few days. How is your work going? Lu Feng asked. It is in progress, and several banks have been approached to discuss the equity pledge. Just as Su Yorong was about to continue speaking, the door was pushed open, and Mr. Chen walked in around a bathrobe and asked, "Who do you call early in the morning?" "Things in the company, I've been busy researching investment directions recently." Su Yorong turned around and smiled. "Don't be busy today, I'll rest today, stay at home, and take a shower first." Mr. Chen started to take off his nightgown. "Okay, I'll accompany you," Su Yorong said to the phone. "The investment will be interviewed when the time comes, so hang up first." After saying that, I hung up the phone. She crawled out of the quilt, walked to Mr. Chen's side and gently helped her take off her nightgown. The two walked towards the bathroom, whispering teasing words from time to time. Listening to the blind tone on the phone, Lu Feng froze on the bed. He put down the phone and lay there for a while, unable to recover. He could only sigh that Su Yorong was a person with no bottom line and no compromise. If it was Lu Feng, he absolutely couldn't do it. Some disgusting things were beyond the bottom line. After getting up, he simply packed up, ate breakfast, and explained to Feng Xiao for a while. It was already 9 o'clock. After changing clothes, Lu Feng was led by the waiter into the conference room. In a few minutes, the door of the conference room was opened, and 7 blonde foreigners filed in. Lu Feng stood up and walked forward, extending his hand. "Welcome, I am Mr. Zhang Wanmen, Director of the Modern Television Research Institute. Agent, next to me is my translator. I believe we can have a good result today." Feng Xiao stood beside him and murmured a lot of translations. Smith murmured towards Lu Feng, but Lu Feng could understand it, but he just needed an intermediary like Feng Xiao. They said that they didn't expect President Lu to be so young and promising. They are very willing to promote cooperative relations and speed up production. He has been to China in his early years and was amazed at our development. Outstanding contribution. Feng Xiao felt disgusted after translating, and muttered, "Where did he see that you are a young man with aspirations and have made outstanding contributions?" Lu Feng glanced at him. Feng Xiao shut up. The two sides talked a lot of polite words. What is not far away, the boat is tired, what is the beautiful rivers and mountains in China, and they sat down after 10 minutes. We talked to Mr. Zhang before, and it was very pleasant. We invested $17 million, including patent rights, production and construction, company name, and sales channels. Among them, we accounted for 70% of the company's equity. The remaining 30% is held by management, and we will send a team to oversee the management and operation of the company. The other party said for a while, basically repeating what Zhang Wanmen said. Lu Feng flipped through the folder in front of him, his face pulled down. "Tell him to shut up and say I've seen it," Lu Feng said solemnly. After Feng Xiao finished translating, the scene fell silent. Lu Feng grasped the atmosphere of the scene and the negotiation rhythm very well, and said calmly, "We do not accept this plan. The risk is not great, our market is very broad, the consumption potential is huge, and it can last for a long time. In the long run, your investment and return will vary greatly. To put it simply, you spend a small amount of money to do big things. Now I have 2 plans here. First, you make additional investments and increase the funds to no less than $50 million. Even if such a large investment, you will have a maximum of 5 you can pay back in 8 years, or 3 years if you are quick. In this way, Jiang's total 30% stake is in line with his contribution. The second set of plans, the investment amount remains unchanged, you hold 30% of the shares, we hold 70% of the shares, and the patent rights are authorized for 10 years. In terms of development, you have no power and will give you dividends every year." After Feng Xiao finished translating, the white face on the opposite side turned even whiter, shaking his head one by one. they couldn't believe that this was a condition that a patent inventor in a developing country could propose. Investing in the mainland itself is not as good as investing in the four little dragons, which is the biggest risk. No, Smith refused directly. You are not qualified to say no, there are only two choices, one or two. First of all, the patent belongs to us, we are party A, you can do it if you accept it, or leave if you don't accept it. We have a lot of talents here, and the development is prosperous. We just believe in one thing, come to invest, the door is open, we want to take advantage, and we spend a little money to do big things, we will stay with us to the end, understand? Feng Xiao was translating, looking at Lu Feng from time to time, this kind of negotiation is really too much. After hearing this, the face turned green with anger, leaned back on the chair and unbuttoned their suits one after another, and talked to each other for a few words. Mr. Lu, they don't want to continue talking with you. When the time comes, they will communicate directly with President Zhang or the municipal government. Your conditions are simply fantastic. This is already a very high level of craftsmanship. They think that the technology of VCD is very powerful. If without them, this technology cannot take root in the country. Lu Feng was overjoyed, and finally showed your arrogant faces. He suddenly burst into anger, slammed the table, stood up and pointed his finger at the opposite side and shouted angrily, "No one is bullying us. I am a big country, 5,000 of years of history, we have researched VCD, if you haven't researched it, you can't do it?" Okay. Okay. Smith hurried to appease Lu Feng. Don't be so emotional, we are business behavior, don't rise to history, I hope you can sit down and talk. Let's not talk about it, just your attitude, you look down on people so much, I tell you, wait for us to surpass you, don't look at us so arrogantly, one day, we will let you look up. Lu Feng was like an angry young man who kept patting the table and yelling. Technology is ours, but it is said that we can't make such sophisticated things, and the industry that bullies us is underdeveloped. Do you look down on us from the bottom of your heart? Today we develop VCD, and we can develop other things tomorrow. One day, we'll be back on top of the world. As far as these two plans are concerned, you accept or don't accept them. If you don't accept them, get out. Where are you now? It's not your country. You have to recognize the reality. I have also messed with you. If I'm not happy, I'll give you 3 knives. 6 eyes, believe it or not. Feng Xiao was dumbfounded and didn't know how to translate. Lu Feng looked at him and said, translate. Mr. Lu, it's a bit too much, how do you translate it? If it starts with F, just spray it. After Feng Xiao's translation, the other side was completely frightened and stared at Lu Feng with wide eyes. Are you a social person? They still have something to do, go first. Smith stood up with the people and was ready to go out. As he walked, he said to the people around him, the business environment is too bad. Who told you to go? Did Lao Tzu allow it? Stand at the door and shout to Lao Tzu, Huaxia is awesome, shout 3 times, or I'll shake people over and abolish you. Lu Feng rushed out, blocking his way like a reckless man. These people. Smith was frightened and wanted to call the police, but there was no phone in the room. In this case, he could only give in, stood there and shouted 3 times and then ran away. Lu Feng watched them go away, and let out a sigh of relief with his hands on his hips. Although angry young people sometimes act like that, they're really humming cool. Feng Xiao came over, looked at Lu Feng and said, they are all foreign guests, are you really afraid of causing trouble? What happened to the foreign guests? Why do they have to worry about it? Lu Feng didn't take it seriously at all. After more than 10 years, a large amount of foreign capital has poured in, and many foreign devils have been tricked. Everyone who does foreign trade knows that after entering the WTO, a large number of foreign companies came in, most of them made money, and a small part of them were pitted for nothing. Business is like this, regardless of race or country, as long as you can make money, everyone is the same green leak. This matter has come to an end, you can take over with peace of mind, Feng Xiao said. The curtain is over? This kind of intimidation will make them go away. I really think that capital is kind. As long as there is money to be made, there is nothing in the universe that can stop them. Now the curtain has just opened, and the good show is staged.